It's not just climate change anymore, because even people who don't think that humans have any impact on the climate accept that the climate changes. And they'll say to you, if they're in denial, that yes, of course the climate changes. It changes all the time, it goes up and goes down. But we know that it's more than just change. It's now becoming an emergency. I knew that dealing with the environment and getting it right would solve many other problems of society, and I wanted to make a difference. When we say think long term, I'm really saying think about future generations. What is the legacy you can leave for future generations?
Rod Welford is a seasoned chief executive with extensive experience across government and the private sector. He works at the intersection of environmental policy, sustainable business, and energy systems, helping shape long-term solutions for a more resilient future.
Rod Welford's operating system is least cost planning. You don't need to know the whole pathway to the finish line. You just need to know that you can take the next step or few steps towards it. You can't achieve everything you want to achieve in one go. So don't be disheartened by that. But taking steps along the road is still progress. If you can get the facts to the best that you can, what you need to do will open up to you.
Welcome our very own Professor Rod Welford.
Goodness me, some of those other presenters must have really fired you. Okay. Well, we've talked about sustainability, sustainable development goals. We've talked about the process for making decisions about sustainability and for embedding sustainability in business. And of course, last week we talked about navigating our way to embed green skills in the curriculum of training courses and vocational education courses. So we've covered the core issues. And today I want to do a bit of a wrap up. I want to talk about how you're going to use what you learned from me and from the others in this 2 weeks. I'm not the end of the program, of course.
One of the things that Rod's going to talk about now in this session about wrapping up and thinking, you can also think about your presentations for Friday, right? So use this moment while he's talking to be thinking about what am I presenting. Remember, you've got 2 to 3 minutes. What have I learned from this program and how am I going to apply it? So,
okay. And as I've said to you previously, I'm not sure of all the details of everything else that all the other lecturers or presenters have presented. But what I want to leave with you is the core knowledge around sustainability and how to embed them in your training courses, or how to design policy that enables that to happen, how to make decisions and work with decision makers, but also to enable you to find your true north, your purpose. Something that gets you out of bed every day wanting to do. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to do it by talking about my life. And not to boast about what I've done, but to make the point to you that your life has many paths yet to follow. You can't predict or plan what those paths will be. But with the right outlook and attitude, and with the focus on things, on doing what you're doing now really, really well, new windows of opportunity will open up to you. And every phase of your life will become more and more satisfying and more exciting, as it has been for me. Yesterday, a friend of mine was appointed as the National Minister for Environment and Water in Australia. Murray was. And I put a post on it this morning because, I've been the former Environment Minister at the state level. And I said of him that he's a smart, articulate, and intelligent person who can get his head around the issues. But for him, this is both the opportunity and the test of a lifetime. The opportunity to really seize the moment for the entire nation of Australia and make a difference. I've sought to do that throughout my life because there's a lot that we can do. We know that our ultimate goal is to create a better world. A world that meets our needs and also meets the needs of others in the future. And look at the winding path my life is taking. The lesson I've learned from this is that I never planned it. My future. I never plan it. What I do is I do what I'm doing right now really well. Because I know if I do it well, people will ask me to come and do new things. New opportunities arise. I started out as a lifeguard on a beach. I studied philosophy at university. Then I became a lawyer. And then I became a lawmaker in the Parliament. For a short period, we were thrown out of government. So I went back to Griffith University and did a science master's in environmental management with the aim of becoming an environmental planner, because I knew the environment was my love. I knew that dealing with the environment and getting it right would solve many other problems of society, and I wanted to make a difference. I also studied at the European Business School in London, Paris, and Madrid, and Berlin, where I did a master's in energy management, looking at global energy issues and building on the experience I had gained in my business in South Africa. And really now what I'm doing in my work with Griffith University is sharing vision. Sharing the opportunity that I had with you so that you can see that your life can take many, many possibilities. All you have to do is be open to them and seize them when those opportunities come. So this is my beach on the Gold Coast. You wouldn't have seen this beach because where you were at Griffith Uni was sort of a little bit inland from up here. So this is about 15 kilometres south, and this beach is called Burleigh Heads.
Oh, Burleigh Heads.
Yes. And behind this photo is Burleigh Headland. This here is North Burleigh Headland. North Burleigh is here, and on the other side of the headland is the beach called Miami. We steal a lot of things from places elsewhere. So the things that inspired me back then was the community service that I was involved in. I became the Honorary Education Officer for the entire state of Queensland with Surf Lifesaving. And I ran courses all the way from the Gold Coast to far northern Queensland, where I trained lifesavers on how to do their job well, how to be good at patrolling the beach between the red and yellow flags. And life at the beach was my life. I was only 20 and I was living the dream. But I realised one day, sitting out in the ocean on my surfboard, thinking about the abundance that I enjoy in my life. That what made my life so good was my health and the environment that enabled me to be healthy. Without a good and clean environment, the certainty of my good health could not be assured. So it was at that point I had, I guess, an epiphany, a realization that the environment was going to be important in my life. At university, at the same time, I was studying law and philosophy. And the principles of that study are fundamental to how I work today. Always asking why. Why are we doing this? What is our real purpose in making this decision? Understanding the difference between knowledge and belief, fact and opinion. Everyone's got an opinion, right?
Right.
You'll hear opinions all day and all night from people who know nothing. But understanding that the facts are different to opinion is really important. And for you to make good decisions, you want to know the facts. You want to know the facts. And without the facts, you can't know anything. You might believe that something is the case. And as I mentioned, many engineers and other professionals form professional opinions based on their beliefs, but without the facts, my view is those opinions are worthless. To be able to think clearly and logically through problems is a valuable skill. And also to think about your purpose. What gives you meaning in life? What enables you to get out of bed without any motivation at all? No one needs to motivate you. You don't need motivational speakers. You don't need motivational recordings or YouTube videos. Because if you find your true meaning and purpose, that's enough for you to want to do what you do every day. That focus on logical thinking and reasoning, clarity of thinking, followed me into the law when I practiced law for nearly a decade. It reinforced that in many court cases, the cases turn not on complex issues of law, but on the facts. Sometimes getting clarity about the facts makes the result obvious. And just as in your decision making, if you can get the facts to the best that you can, what you need to do will open up to you. I talked about the difference between fact and opinion, the difference between holding an opinion but first getting the evidence on which that opinion is based. When many people make judgments or assessments, they often make them without the evidence, without the facts. By getting the facts, you will always make better decisions. So then I went into Parliament, and this is the Queensland Parliament, on the banks of the Brisbane River. And there I was not a minister for the first 9 years, but I did contribute. I chaired a sustainable energy advisory group, and the minister who was not familiar with sustainable energy and knew I was, gave me $5 million and said, come and do what you can to promote sustainable energy. So I did arrange, I had a committee together, a young engineer as my project manager, and we went and did projects all over Queensland, showing that renewables back in 1994 were still feasible if you use energy more efficiently. The more efficiently you use energy, the less demand, total demand you have at any one time. And if you have less total demand at any one time, you can scale down the power station to meet that demand, thereby saving the capital costs of the generation capacity that you need. And of course, in making laws, in designing policy, this was when I was at the centre of. It was when I learned all the things that I've been teaching you, all the things that I've been talking to you about in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Understanding that I needed to be clear about what were we trying to achieve, and what are the core principles on which we design any policy. And we can only define those principles when we get the evidence. What are the facts? Again, in every role I've played, the facts were fundamental. But it wasn't until I got further into my career that I realised how important the facts were, the evidence. And here in particular, in dealing with government departments and public sector employees, I came to appreciate the importance of not getting bogged down in detail, not getting caught up in process, but being able to zoom out and understand the big picture. What are we trying to achieve here? And then narrowing down to clarify what options are available based on the evidence that we have. And then designing policies and laws that are as efficient as possible, that prevent us from getting way down in process and unnecessary legalistic tangling. And I realised that sometimes you can't achieve everything you want to achieve in one go. So don't be disheartened by that. You might have a grand vision of what you want to achieve as your ultimate goal in any project or any policy or any program of vocational education and training that you are leading. Don't be disheartened that you can't get it all in the first go. Accept that taking steps along the road is still progress. Remind yourself to keep moving forward. Take action. And every action you take, every step forward you can achieve is a symbol of success. Because you can stand on those symbols as the foundation for your next step, or your next success, or your next achievement. My way of thinking about challenging problems was expanded further when I came here and studied at Griffith University and studied ecology, flora and fauna population studies, and how ecological systems operate. And I realised that, as I mentioned earlier, while energy drives everything, what real energy is really driving is how we use resources that energy drives. And so the idea in the environment is that we don't want to use resources in a way that leaves scarcity. We want to use it in a way where we maximize efficiency. And by biomimicry, we look into nature for insights into how resources can be used more efficiently and in a circular way. In other words, a circular economy. Who's heard about a circular economy? Some have. Okay, good. So resource efficiency and a circular economy are twins in a way. We use resources more efficiently and we recycle them into the cycle of materials and products that we produce. This is called integrated resource planning. Planning our resources in a way where we maximize their functional utility with a minimum of resource use. Now, this is not just efficiency in an economic sense, it's efficiency in a resource sense. But it also, because we're using less resources, will have significant financial benefits from not wasting money on wasted resources or wasted energy that we apply to the resources that we have. And so this was refined, I guess, to my ultimate operating system that I used for energy design, but also in my life. Who's heard of design thinking? Good. Because the core principle of design thinking, what's the starting point of design thinking? The facts and problem statement. But what is the problem statement? Solutions. No, solutions come later. What needs to be identified? Resource requirements? No, you don't. You will require to know the resources. No, that's the way you get to your solutions. What are you looking for first? What do you need to identify? Someone said goal. What is the goal? It is based on the needs. Right? What is the need? So that's the starting point. It's right there in the need is the problem statement for any design process for achieving a solution. So once you identify the need, then you need to think about what are the resources required to meet that need, and what's the process we're going to use, what steps are we going to take in applying those resources to get our solution. That, in a nutshell, is design thinking. Of course, it involves engaging with clients and getting feedback and iterative processes, as those of you who've done any work on design thinking know. It's an iterative process of constantly getting new information, new feedback, refining what solution you're designing to meet the need, because that's what design thinking focuses on. And this, have mentioned this already, where we don't start with the infrastructure or the technology or any of that. We start with the need and work backwards and fit the resources and technology to meet the need most efficiently. End use efficiency. Achieving that end use need at least cost. So as I just said, this is my life operating system. For me, you know how you have an operating system, you can have, Microsoft Windows, or you can have Linux. Well, Rod Welford's operating system is least cost planning. In everything in my life, whether I'm shopping, whether I'm looking for a tourist travel experience, or whether I'm meeting new people, I ask myself, one, what do I need? Two, what's the least cost process to achieve that need? What's the most efficient resource and financial way in which I can meet what I need? And my needs, remember, are not my wants. My needs aren't driven by greed, they're fundamental. Because once you've got your needs, well then you've got a foundation for a happy life. Of course, anything else you can grow or generate or achieve is a bonus. That's part of what your inspired life will pursue you to go up. But the first step is to ask yourself, what do I need? And how can I meet that need in the most efficient and least cost way? So what I was using, that methodology, the thinking process I was using for energy design in big smelters and mines, I was also able to apply to my own life. And this is this I guess is the theme of today's presentation, that we can take principles from sustainability and apply it to our own lives, in our own pursuits, in our own passions, to be able to live what I describe as an inspiring life. So this redesigned really the principles of energy design. It did something totally different to what engineers conventionally do. It started the end-use need, worked backwards and worked on what is the least cost way to meet that need. Remember the retention basin at the copper mine? And the truck cleaning pad? What is the least cost way to meet the need? We have to think laterally. Exactly. We have to get all the facts in order to find the least cost way of achieving what we want to achieve. And these things can be applied from a single project to a whole organisation and its strategy, right up to an entire economy of the country, as well as in our own lives. These are ways of thinking. We know that we face some great challenges, and there is no environmental challenge greater right now that we're confronted with than the climate challenge. It's not just climate change anymore, because even people who don't think that humans have any impact on the climate accept that the climate changes. And they'll say to you, if they're in denial, that yes, of course the climate changes. It changes all the time. It goes up and goes down. Storms come and storms go. It flooded 5 years ago, flooding again. That's not special. But we know that it's more than just change, isn't it? It's now becoming an emergency. And I don't need to show you the graphs of the escalating temperatures of the planet, particularly from mid-last century, for you to see how rapidly the change is happening. But we are, as a society, as a global society, like the frog in the boiling hot ocean. It gets a little bit warmer each year. We get a few more floods and cyclones, tornadoes and fires, wildfires and droughts every year. But we don't notice how rapidly this steam train is heading towards. And it has, serious consequences. As I said in this course, the opportunity to solve this problem already exists. We've got all the tools, and I've given you all the thinking methodologies, the thinking strategies to tackle even the most difficult projects, both in your vocational education and training system, but also tilting that system in its design to tackle some of the great challenges of the world. And of course, meet the needs of everyone in society. Yes, the challenges are big and the hurdles are high, but more and more people all around the world, just like you, are focusing on their sphere of influence, the area they work in, whether it be in science, engineering, whether it be in government, or whether it be in vocational education, to identify ways in which you can craft the system that you're running, that you're planning, and that you are designing and is evolving as you work on it, to build momentum, and address these global challenges. We know that not to do it is not an option because the costs of not doing it are going to be even worse. And we also know that whenever we have an opportunity to make a difference, we should go for it. Flat out. 110%. So sustainability provides me with an operating system for managing resources, for understanding that ecology is a teacher for us in how we run society, in appreciating that there are precious on our precious planet, and that understanding our impact on that planet, our environmental and our carbon footprints, gives us some insight into why we need to use resources more efficiently. And that natural systems show us ways in which a circular economy can be achieved. So again, we focus on the end-use need. The end-use need isn't necessarily a single thing. It might involve a certain quantity of product that we need, or a scale of activity that's required, at a certain quality, and coming at a certain time. So these are all features of the need. Again, we remind ourselves of why we're doing this and what resources and how we're going to do it by using the design thinking methodologies that we've talked about. And we can also learn from the perspectives of the different cultures, even in our own country. Different perspectives are also always helpful in shining a light. That's why partnerships are important. Building relationships, gaining feedback from the people we serve and our various stakeholders that we talked about in our first session. And we know that all resources are energy in some form or another. So here was our basic. So with that background of design thinking and a methodology for achieving our needs in the most efficient way, we know that once we step onto a project, we've got our 3-step system coming. What are the 3 steps? Number 1, where I stand. Number 2,
What do you need?
what's the goal? Where do we want to get to? And number 3,
What's the
take action on the first step.
question?
Just take the first step. You don't need to know the whole pathway to the finish line. You just need to know that you can take the next step or few steps towards it. And as you gather more evidence and more facts, the following steps will become more clear. And we've had within those 3 principles of strategy some essential reminders about the facts, being clear about what the ultimate goal is. And when we take the first steps, we prioritise it based on first things first, and the fact that it will be just break down into small parts. We know that the Sustainable Development Goals are also a source of innovation and insight. So don't be shy to go back to the Sustainable Development Goals in order to define your goal or goals for your organisation or for your program or for whatever project you're working with. Because each of those goals we know meet the needs of everyone on the planet. So when we ask ourselves, what is the ultimate need? Just as the stonemason described what they were doing, you don't describe it in the detail. Oh, I'm carving the stones so that they're nicely shaped, perfect, cube shape. No. What is my ultimate goal? I'm building a cathedral. I'm building a cathedral. So describe your ultimate goals in big picture terms. I am ending poverty. Now that is one hell of a goal, isn't it? But you work back from there. Work back from that need to set specific goals that or milestones really, that you're going to contribute to that ultimate need. If you apply these strategies, you will not only understand the distinction between leadership and management, where you will be a leader who inspires and brings along others without them even being subservient or lower in authority than you, just by your modeling how to do things and getting things done. You will, by your practice, by your actions, be demonstrating leadership without having to be someone in high authority. And of course, management differs from leading, because leading means you have people who want to follow, people who want to pursue your goals. Management simply means we manage the resources in the way we describe. We've already talked about partnerships, drawing on the wisdom of others, creating leverage from those partnerships so that you can get more done by more people helping achieve what you want to achieve. And understanding that managing a project isn't just a list of tasks. Project management overlooks the fact that projects are not just a list of tasks to be done. It's a series of negotiations and communication between people who get things done. That's what feedback is about. It's how we communicate what we need to do. So we had a model, I don't know whether I showed you this, in our business where we said, okay, we agreed that you will do A, and he will do B. Do you to agree to do A by time Y? In other words, we had a rule that said X by Y. You make a promise to achieve X by Y. This is what project management is, where everyone commits to get something done. Right? And if before Y you find that there are circumstances arising that prevent you achieving X by Y, then you go back and renegotiate your promise. Okay? But you don't hide. You don't pretend it's being done. You don't tell stories like government departments often do when they want to hide their lack of achievement. They say, yes, Minister, we are achieving it, when they know they're not. Be honest, go back and renegotiate the promise. But project management is about every person in the team agreeing as a team that they promise to do X by time Y. Use that practice in your project management, rather than just creating a list and allocating it and then waiting for people to satisfy their accountabilities. Engage in the conversations. Use the engagement, use the meetings to agree on steps to be taken, who will take them, and by what time. And then meet again in the next week or month to track progress and renegotiate any promises that are off track. This builds a culture. What enables an organisation to be purpose-driven is that they have a culture that empowers everyone in the organisation behind that purpose. A lot of sociological thinking struggles with what culture is. A lot of business management academic papers struggle with the concept of culture, and they define it in all different ways, but ultimately it's about how we get things done around here. And the starting point for me is to set that ambitious goal, just like Interface Carpets did, and set a goal that's so exciting and so inspirational that at first it takes your breath away, but then it provides a purpose around which everyone can gather and bond and build culture. And always remember, you don't have to be right. You don't have to always be right. Because all of these projects that you're embarking upon will ultimately become the subject of some form of conversation or negotiation or art. So don't start with the proposition that you have to be right. Start with the idea, the belief, the mindset that you are exploring the best way to get the goal achieved. Okay? The best way to get the goal achieved and the best way to get everyone excited about that goal. So this is how you live an inspiring life. You work with others. You value yourself. You serve a purpose greater than yourself. And you get out of bed every day pursuing the things that are of highest interest to you. If you want to know what job you're in, or whether you're in the wrong job, just ask yourself when you wake up in the morning, what is the thing I'm most interested in at this time in my life? Because if you pursue, both in your personal life and in your working life, the things that you have most interest in right now, you will never need motivation, because you will want to do it every day. It will be your passion. So think about what are the things that are most important to you, your highest interest, and think about who's going to work with you to achieve those things. Think long term, but don't plan for any particular long term result. When we say think long term, I'm really saying think about future generations. What is the legacy that you can leave for future generations? Never give up. Never give up. You've heard the story about, well, a number of people really. The Harry Potter author, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Right? You've heard the story about how she tried to sell her first book and tried hundreds of times. Imagine if she stopped one time short. She would never have had a book published. Stay on course. If you're living your passion, if you are living your highest interests, you will achieve your goals. You will achieve your goals. Because you know you're looking to make a positive difference by achieving those goals. And remember, life's not a dress rehearsal. We only get one shot at pursuing an inspired life. And you can achieve everything you want to achieve if you stay focused. Stay focused on your achievements. I'm hoping this will work, but if it doesn't matter. Oh, do I really have to sign in? Used to it, just fine. Just yeah. Very simple email. Don't use it though. I meant to say, I will say to you, any of you who want to keep in touch with me, you're welcome to do so. I'm on LinkedIn,
Yes.
so just send me a note there. I haven't right. No. Damn. Okay, well, maybe we don't see that. Just try again. No, it's not coming up. It was me leading a training session at one of the first training sessions for inductees to our business in South Africa. But essentially, the message was, when you combine something you love with what you're good at, and you can make a living out of it, with those three things you found a sweet spot.
So it's like a ikigai.
Yes,
It's in the
very similar to Ikigai. Yes, Ikigai. So, what is your operating system? When you go away from here and go home to reflect on what you've achieved here, that one?
Yes.
Think about what your operating system is. What is the methodology you're going to use to be successful in life? It's noble to seek to make a difference, and to succeed at making a difference is its own reward. No? I want to tell you something that is a secret for many people, and I'm only telling you because I know that you people are very positive people. You believe that whatever we put our mind to, we can achieve. Right? You don't believe it when you see it. You see it once you believe it. I'm going to tell you something. You've seen me at this course for the last several weeks. This morning, I had a blood test. I get a blood test every 2 weeks. Because every 2 weeks, on the Thursday after today, after Tuesday, when I get the blood test, I have a meeting with the doctor. In January of last year, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Stomach cancer. That had already spread, metastasized to lymph nodes between my stomach and my liver and into my liver. I've already outlived all their prognosis. And I will continue to live for a long time yet. Because my operating system is everything I've talked to you about. I am alive. And I intend to live. I love my life. I love myself. And I love my body that will heal itself. So there is the final little lesson. No matter what obstacle or undesirable circumstance may cross your path, simply refuse to accept it. It's nothing but illusion. Because in the mind of the universe, there can be no obstacle or undesirable circumstance. And that's how I'm living my life. Applying the principles about and pursuing my purpose in life and loving my life doing it. That will keep me alive. Sure, as long as possible. Sure. Either this cancer will disappear, or I will live a long life with it. I don't care. We all have cancer cells in our body. It's just, for most of us, they're not activated. And we never know when they will be. Which is why we've got to remind ourselves to live every day with the passion and love of life and pursuit of our achievements that fulfill our highest interests. You go, you work.
Yeah.
I know you can. We have some time for questions. And I said with the last section, make a note of any questions you wanted to ask about any of the topics we've covered in the 4 sessions that I've presented. Do you have any questions? As I say, you're welcome to connect on LinkedIn and ask me any questions later on if you like. Seek my humble advice. But really, if you apply these principles, you won't need my advice. You will know how to navigate and design your path in life. You will know how to achieve what you want to achieve in vocational education. You will know, not just believe, but you will know that you can achieve things because you have the tools, the methods, the strategies, and the way of thinking to get things done. And there's nothing more satisfying in life than getting things done that serve a higher purpose. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Look, that's not a question, but what you have been inspired personally. Maybe it's come back to understand a bit my decision that everything about this we want to support the ecosystem in involving. And then the only support even it's a shoe from this advisor. Yes. And then he as my inspired, I will go to the A and have a radio solution.
Yes.
To make all the stakeholder in the ecosystem.
Yes.
And then all the organization they make not well.
Yeah.
They say that they don't be well because of this and that. But what you have mentioned is actually the people I really believe in.
Yes.
The more I bring the stakeholder in the ecosystem and understand the zoom in and zoom out what they are doing and get clarity what they are doing, the function, the service they provide, the action one another, that will give them the success. So every moment that we go together, I go together, we building and strongly because we believe in the success.
Yes.
And
And if you get stuck or you get blocked, come back and look at the slide. Look at how do I get through this problem? How do I solve this problem? What am I missing? What am I forgetting to do? It's all here in the information I'm providing to you. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded the other 3 sessions into Drive yet, but I will. And I'll make sure they're all 4 sessions. The slide sets are available to you. Okay? Yes.
yes, I just want to say thank you a lot for everything you shared so far. Now I really believe in the concept that you're sharing. I would like to say that you don't look like people with terminal cancer. It really changed my mind, my assumption about people who have terminal cancer. You look super healthy, and finally Hope you live a long, happy life.
Thank you very much. All I ask of you when you go away is every time you think of me, just say, he'll be fine. Because your energy will then keep me around.
Look, what you mentioned about generation, you actually transfer your philosophy to the next generation.
Yeah.
You are the one transfer your philosophy to the next generation.
Yes.
Everybody live in the next generation. Yeah.
Share the vision. That's it. Yes.
It's been like the talk around us as a young generation. I mean, like young generation. I'm always how we can react to our body. They said like me is one of like too positive. So this don't be severe because it could be toxic positivity. Have you heard about that?
Yes. Yes, I heard.
So in this case, for me it's totally different
Yes.
because
It's not about just being positive
yeah.
or forever happy. That's life isn't like that.
So how we can like giving something that simple that they could be understand that this is not a toxic positivity. It's because of I'm like this. It is me. What is
You're helping them get things done. That's what you're doing. You're not going out of your way to be overly positive. You're going out of your way to help get things done using new ideas and new tools and new ways of thinking. Finding solutions using these tools.
try?
You try that.
What is try?
Yes.
And this.
Any other questions? Well, you've got to click the button.